What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. I wanna, uh, I wanna, I wanna talk about this Lamar Jackson situation. And John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh recently got fired, and so now I was watching Jason Whitlock, and he had Coach JB on there, right? And Coach JB kind of gave some insight, right? Some inside information as to um, what really happened with the Lamar Jackson situation. And so now, before I even heard what Coach JB said, I always thought that Lamar Jackson, like Lamar has been in the league for like 7 years, and he's going into his 8th year. And so, in certain things, you haven't seen Lamar Jackson improving, right? And it's kind of hard, like when you have the physical abilities as somebody like Lamar Jackson. The first thing you do, like the first sign of trouble, you want to revert back to like what you like your fail safe, like that you can outrun people or you have athleticism, where as though you can get past people. That's the first thing you want to do. And so throughout his first 7 years, that's what we seen Lamar Jackson. Soon as things get tough, he want to revert back to like his style of playing, his running style of playing. And he has had some success with it. He won 2 MVPs, 2 league MVPs playing that way. But then when it comes to playoff football, he's limited because you can't always, teams want to keep you in the pocket. So they're not rushing you the same way in the playoffs that they do during the regular season. They're playing you different, and they have a spy on you just in case you try to get outside the pocket, right? So teams play more patiently in the playoffs, and they want to keep you in that pocket. So you have to find a way as a player. Over the years, you get seven. He had 7 years to learn how to beat, to counter the way they're defending them. It's just like being a basketball player, right? If your strong hand is your right hand and they continue to send you to your left, you're gonna have to learn how to be effective with your left hand, in order to beat that. And I don't think like certain things that Lamar Jackson couldn't do when he came into the league, like he still can't do those things, right? So he's limited. And when you have a coach like John Harbaugh or whoever your coach is, you have to, as a player, allow those guys and trust those guys. They're your coach to get you to that next level and help you get to that next level. Like I said, if you are somebody who's used to doing things, it's like being a plumber, right? You're a plumber or a carpenter and you're working with your hands. And now all of a sudden, like the landscape of business has changed, and now you need to, the things that you did with your hands, you got to do like on a computer or something like that, right? It's just that transition is hard, but it's probably necessary because you got to change with the time, you got to change with the environment, right? And so, and I wanted to put all that in there before I play what Coach JB say about Lamar Jackson, because I think that as a young player, it's probably hard. He used to play in a certain kind of way, and he thought that he probably could have success playing his way, which it is so far hasn't panned out like that, right? And so I'm gonna play what Coach JB said, and then I'm gonna add my input to it.
John Harbaugh getting fired. What do you think?
Well, I have
that
some
means for
insight. I
Lamar
got some
Jackson?
real insight on this. If you want, I'll break it up.
We got all day.
And it's really factual.
Well, that's not happening. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's really factual.
Go ahead, please.
I basically alluded to it on my show. You have a bigger audience. Let your audience get it. John Harbaugh got a call on Sunday night after the game by president and said, "We want you back. You got to fire Monken and the DC." And Harbaugh said, "Hey, I know how the business works. They get it too. I'll make the call." He immediately calls Lamar Jackson and says, "Lamar, I'm coming back. You good with that?" Lamar said, "Yeah, coach." He said, "I got to fire Monken, though, who you don't like anyway." And he said, "No, coach, I like Monken." I said, and then Harbaugh continued to go on and said, "No, you don't. You haven't talked to Monken in 4 months. 4 months. Tell me any offensive coordinator quarterback relationship that cannot coexist in the locker room and tell me they're going to have success. I'll show you the first one. So that was said fact. It happened. So Harbaugh said, well, I'm back. You cool with that? Yeah, coach, I'm good. Woo. So Monday morning comes, Harbaugh gets a call from the owner. I'm firing you. And Lamar Jackson told ownership, I don't want Harbaugh back. So if you're going to ask me a question about a possibility of Harbaugh and Lamar going to Miami, no, never, ever, ever will it happen. And that's the fact. That's what happened. Lamar kind of threw him under the bus. Lamar didn't practice on Wednesdays for no reason at all. They changed the practice schedule for Lamar because he wouldn't wake up. Those are all things that really happen. And unfortunate that we've enabled these players so greatly that you can't coach them anymore. So Cliff Kingsbury did the same thing in Arizona. Could not even speak to Kyler Murray.
See, and that's what, and I know people, they was like, well, you picking on the players and stuff like that, right? But as a player, man, I just try to get players to understand that you have to be coached, right? And you got to find somebody that you trust. All great players. Like if Tom Brady, didn't listen to Bill Belichick, he wouldn't have had the career that he had, and it don't even really matter who you want to give credit to, like for the success of the New England Patriots. But Bill, you gotta allow Bill Belichick to coach you. And I always talk about what's the Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan, Michael Jordan, like like the greats. You got to be able to trust somebody, a coach, that can take you to that next level. And then when you have a coach like Jim Harbaugh, who has that experience, I think he's been in the league 18 years. He probably was 18 or 19 years, and it was probably 10 or 11 years before Lamar got there. So he had that experience. 11 years as a head coach before Lamar got there, 10 or 11. Then he was in Philly as a special teams coach, right? Somebody, man, you gotta you got to be able to link onto somebody who you trust, and they're going to take you to that next level. And then you got to be committed. You can't be like this talking about, I can't practice on Wednesdays, or I can only come in at a certain time. You only do yourself in. So here you have Lamar Jackson, 8 years into his career. If this is true, he facilitated the firing of his coach. I think it's going to come back to bite him, because now you're not going to get any better as a player, because they're not going to put somebody with you who you don't like, and somebody who is really going to coach, you the way you need to be coached. And you've been practicing and doing things the same way for 8 years. That's not, and some people even say about Michael Jordan, like, he trusts Phil Jackson. Some people say he trusts Phil Jackson to a fault. But if you look at it, it got him 6 championship rings. And, but you got to do that. Tim, like I said, Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich used to talk to him like he was the 12th man on the bench, so you got to be coached. You got to be coached. And if you're a great athlete like Lamar is, and you refuse, you refuse to be coached, it's not going to go well. But let me Pace, because I thought this interview was very interesting about what Coach JB said and the insight that he had. But even, like I said, even without knowing that, it's obvious that Lamar, number one, didn't get better over his 7 years, and number two, he didn't work as hard as he wasn't dedicated as like you would see some other superstars be dedicated.
Had to have a wideout coach talk to him for him. This is a mockery, Jason. It's becoming a mockery, and we wonder why these quarterbacks are so bad. It's ridiculous.
Hold for 1 second, though. Hold for 1 second. What do you think? Do we know what Lamar's problem with John Harbaugh is?
No, I think it's the hard coaching that those guys exhibited. throughout the year. Monken, the rumor is Monken, and that's not a rumor because I have buddies on the staff. It's not a rumor. Monken coaches hard. I've known Monken a long time. Sean King and Monken are really, really close friends. You could ask Sean these same things. They talk a lot. Monken coaches, gets after you, gets in your ass, talk like a real coach does. These guys are so soft. They couldn't handle it. Plus, it's an old white. So they don't like that. Oh, you're belittling me, blah, 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 all the BS. The same narrative we hear every day now.
Now, I do want to push back on Coach JB for this, right? Because another interview, he said that, all right, so he said that Monken being a white guy, coaching Lamar hard is would be a problem, right? But in another interview, JB said that black football players are more likely to allow white coaches or listen to white coaches than they are a black coach, right? Which I push back on that too. I think like if you're a good coach, I don't care if you black or white, you got to be able to coach. And if a kid push back and the kid don't want coaching from a good black coach or a good white coach, that's going to be his downfall. And that's what I'm saying here. Like with Lamar, I don't care if Monken is a white guy or a black guy. If the guy coach and he know what he doing, which it's not up to the player to say that or judge that. But it's not up to the player. Like either you're gonna accept this good coaching or you're gonna move on. Because in the long run, like I said, Lamar is not going to get any better if nobody can coach him. People are saying that the guy, I think the guy name is Flores, right? Flores is, I don't know if he African American, but he's a dark-skinned man, look like a black man, right? He's also somebody who coaches players hard. And so people are saying that Flores might be the guy who's up for this Raven job, right? So it's not about race, like if Lamar don't want to be coached hard, then he's not going to listen to the guy to the Flores when they bring Flores in, right? So I just wanted to address that. If a kid do try to play that race card and all that, man, you just can't. Management, like I said, it'll be to his detriment if he played that, not really knowing and getting like the big picture of it.
It's always some scapegoat. And Monken knew it, accepted it. Monken went on a podcast recently and basically said what you wanted him to say because he probably wants to still coach in the NFL. So he said, I didn't do a good enough job coaching Lamar. I didn't have a good enough relationship with Lamar. So he basically told you that they didn't have a relationship, which I just told you is fact. And those guys didn't talk cordially for 4 months. But yet you had to run the play I call. Not going to work.
Look, and also think about this. Tom Brady, like I said, like him and his coaches and Bill, I don't think he never yelled back at Bill Belichick, but he would yell back at the coaches, and the coaches didn't, like, they wasn't intimidated by Tom Brady. Like those guys went at it, and you got to be able to be coached. Like they would cuss Tom Brady out. You didn't have to just be Bill Belichick. Like you could be the offensive coordinator and cuss him out. And he'll cuss you out back. But it was a different level when it came to Bill Belichick. Like Tom Brady wasn't going to talk stuff to Bill Belichick. But you gotta have some. You gotta know that you answer to this man, because this man is your boss, right? So let me get back to this.
And so I don't know what between him and Harbaugh, but 19 years and now. By the way, John Harbaugh is 8-4 with a Super Bowl victory without Lamar. He's 3-8 with Lamar, no Super Bowl, but it's his fault.
Yeah, you got to think about that.
So Lamar sells a lot of tickets, not that you have a problem selling tickets in the NFL, but man, that's and so listen, I've heard insinuations, stories from people who would know that Lamar is a headache. Like a lot of players are headaches that make that amount of money and get that amount of worship and acclaim. But I'm wondering, and maybe Lamar hasn't thought it this far through, but okay, you want Harbaugh out. Who do you want to coach you, and who can coach you?
That's the
Good luck. So you fire Greg Roman, one of the best offensive minds in football. Offensively, that was your most productive. You could say he threw for 40 touchdowns and 4 picks last year. JB won the MVP. The most productive offense the Ravens had was under Greg Roman. They had to be in 32 personnel, run RPO, triple option, and I broke down more Lamar film than anybody. And he was the most successful, and he was upright and was healthy. Fire him. Not good enough. Then it's get Monken. Now fire him. He's the problem. Then it's you don't have enough wideouts. Lamar never had a wideout. Now he's
now being here in Baltimore, right? We did hear about like they don't have enough talent around Lamar. They got him some wide receivers. They don't have, they got him the running back Derrick Henry. And so everything that Lamar needed, like all the help that he needed was here. And like I said, you don't have to be inside that locker room. You can just go between, like when you see over the years, like Lamar making certain mistakes and his game still having the same, weaknesses that it did in day one. You just you don't need inside sources to see what's going on as a football fan.
He's got wideouts. It's not Lamar again's fault. Then you get Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
How much stuff do I got to stack up here? It's always someone else's fault. And then you got guys like Smitty on my show every year predicting Lamar's going to win the Super Bowl. But I said every year, when he doesn't, what are you going to say? Crickets. Stop. The guy is not the guy. He is a freak of nature, good kid for the most part. I know buddies that coached him in college and recruited him. He's a great kid and all that, but then he got egotistical, I believe, with the money, to your point. And that changes everybody. And then you do what you do in the playoffs with Lamar, and you get what you get.
See, again, I just want to make this point, man. Like when you are sometimes like your physical ability can be a curse, right? Because that is his fail safe. The first thing he want to do is he want to tuck that ball and run. And that is a curse because now teams they're banking on you tucking the ball and running. Whereas though you gotta, and that's what got you to the NFL, the fact that he can tuck that ball and run. But to go to that next level, to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, you gotta learn different skills, and you gotta be able to do, and mentally that's tough. It's just mentally it's tough for a lot of players who have that. Like most people don't have the problem that Lamar Jackson had. They don't have like that world-class speed, or they're not quick enough to be able to keep, dodging guys. And, like when his first couple years in the league, man, when he was just looked like guys couldn't catch him, so you don't have to work hard in the offseason because you got that physical ability. But if you're somebody who's slow, you better learn how to throw in that pocket. You better learn how to read defenses. You better learn how to throw outside the numbers, But I think his athleticism is a curse.
3-6. You've had the best O-line, the best defense, the best running back. You've had all these things catered to you, and yet you're 3-6. But it's someone else's fault. Jay said, I'm so tired of hearing this narrative. I can pin my ears back in the playoffs after the book is out on you. The book for everyone out there that's casual is a scouting report. I'm going to play zone, drop everybody out, make you stick in the pocket, and beat me with your arm. Show me when Lamar's done that in the playoffs.
And that's what I'm saying. See, 8 years in, 7 or 8 years in, you got to, like I said, if they sending you left, now 7 or 8 years in, you need to be comfortable inside that pocket. And they kept challenging him with that. And he never, he could never get over that hurdle.
He hasn't. And guess what? Great in-season quarterback. Great in-season because we don't scheme you specifically to like a playoff D coordinator will. But in the playoffs, he's the same Lamar every year. Is he not?
Seems to be. Man. JB, that's a good note to end this Friday on.
So look, but like I said, you know, like, is Lamar Jackson gonna get any better? Like, will he be in after his 8th year? Like in his 8th year, will he be the kind of quarterback who could stand in the pocket and throw the ball? I don't think so. Will he in his 8th year be able to throw outside the numbers all of a sudden? I don't think so. So you're going to see like the decline. You know, I'm not saying he's going to fall off the cliff, but you're going to see a decline because he can't really, he's not as fast as he used to be. He's not as agile as he used to be. And so this move of getting rid of John Harbaugh, I think is going to backfire on Lamar, you know. And so that's my take on it. You know, and one other thing I want to add is like ownership. It would seem like ownership would know better to fall for this. Like ownership would like, all right, we want to make this quarterback better, demand better of him by backing the coaches. You know, I know he sell tickets and he sell jerseys and stuff like that, but also I think you'll have a better team if everybody from ownership on down just demands more of an athlete, no matter how special he is on the field. You know, and so I guess it's tough because you don't want to lose him and push him out the door. But if he's gonna be here, he's gonna do the right things. So that's tough. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm gonna check y'all out in the next video. Peace.